I want to tell you about the worst moment of my early fatherhood. Not because it's traumatic, but because I think that you will recognize it. It was sometime around month 3. It was the middle of the night, that hour where time just plain stops making sense. My daughter had been crying for what felt like forever. I had fed her, I'd changed her, I'd rocked her, bounced her, shushed her. I had done everything that the books and the people said, everything the videos promised would work. Nothing worked. And somewhere in that endless night, holding this tiny person who would not stop screaming, I felt something rise up in me that I had never felt before. It wasn't frustration, it was rage. Hot, flooding, full body rage that quite frankly scared me. For a split second, I understood how people hurt their children, and I had that thought. Not because they're monsters, but because they are human beings pushed past their limit with no tools to bring themselves back. In that instance, I didn't hurt her. I put her down in the crib, I walked a few feet away, and I just laid face down on the floor, and I cried. But that moment changed something for me. It made me realize that all of the parenting advice that I had consumed at that point, all the techniques and tips and life hacks, had missed something fundamental. Nobody had taught me how to calm myself down. Here's what I have learned since then. There's one skill that changes everything in early fatherhood. It's not the perfect swaddle. It's not finding the right bouncer or the magic white noise frequency. It's not sleep training or feeding schedules or any of the things that new dads are frantically Googling at 2 a.m. It is self-regulation. The ability to notice when your nervous system is heading toward the red zone and bringing it back before you get there. The ability to stay calm, not fake calm, but actually calm when everything around you is in chaos. Now, this sounds simple. It's not. And almost nobody talks about it because most parenting advice assumes that you're already regulated. It gives you techniques and assumes you're in a state to execute them. But here's what happens in reality. You learn the technique during the day when you're rested and rational, and then the moment comes at 3 a.m. when you are exhausted and desperate and the technique is useless. Not because it's bad advice, but because your brain has simply left the building. When you are dysregulated, when you are flooded with stress hormones, heart racing, breath shallow, thoughts just spinning, you lose access to the parts of your brain that make good parenting possible. That prefrontal cortex, the part that problem solves and attunes and responds with patience, goes offline. It's right here behind the forehead. That's why I'm doing this. You're operating at that point from your brainstem, from your amygdala, a little higher up, from pure survival mode. And survival mode has exactly 3 options: fight, flight, or freeze. That is why you snap. That's why you say things that you regret. That's why you put the baby down too hard, or you squeeze, or you walk away when you should stay or stand there paralyzed when she needs you to act. It's not a character flaw. It's neurobiology. Your nervous system has been hijacked, and no amount of parenting tips will help until you get that back. Here's the part that reframed everything for me. Babies cannot regulate their own nervous systems. They aren't built for it yet. The brain structures required for self-regulation won't be fully developed for years. So what does an infant do when she's overwhelmed, overstimulated, flooded with sensations that she can't process or control? She borrows your nervous system. This is something called co-regulation, and it is not metaphor. It is biology. When you hold your baby, your heart rates synchronize. Your breathing patterns influence each other. Your calm, if you have any, becomes available to her. She doesn't learn to calm down by being left alone. I'm going to say that again. She does not, will not, cannot learn to calm down by being left alone. She learns to calm down by being held by someone who is calm. Which means that your internal state is not just about you. It is her environment. When you are dysregulated, she feels it. She doesn't know what she's feeling. She just knows that something is wrong, something is unsafe, and she cries harder. When you're regulated, she feels that too. Your steadiness becomes her steadiness. Your nervous system teaches hers what calm feels like. This is why self-regulation is not self-care. It's not a luxury you get to when you have time. It's not something that you do for yourself while the real parenting happens elsewhere, right? Your ability to regulate your own nervous system is the foundation of your ability to parent. Everything else depends on it, is built upon it. Think about the airplane safety instructions, right? Put your own oxygen mask on before helping others. It sounds counterintuitive when your child is sitting right there, but the logic is brutal and correct. You can't help anyone if you are unconscious. Same principle applies here. You can't calm your baby if you can't calm yourself. You can't be the steady presence she needs if your own presence isn't steady. So why does nobody talk about this? I think it's because self-regulation is hard to teach and even harder to sell. It's not a product that you can buy or a hack that you can implement tonight. It is a practice, a skill that builds over time. That's not what new parents want to hear when they're desperate and searching for answers. It's also invisible. When a dad stays calm at 3 a.m. and soothes his baby back to sleep, nobody sees the internal work that made that possible. They just see the result and assume that he's naturally patient, naturally good at this. They don't see the practice, the daily maintenance, the years of learning what calms his specific nervous system and drilling it until it became a reflex. And honestly, I think there's shame involved. Admitting that you struggle to stay calm with a baby, your own baby, feels like admitting you're not cut out for this. It feels like failure, so we don't talk about it. We white knuckle through the hard moments and hope that nobody notices when we lose it. We perform calm instead of actually being calm. And then we wonder why it's so exhausting. Here's what I want you to know. Struggling to regulate yourself does not make you a bad father. It makes you a normal human being operating under extreme stress with no training for what you're experiencing. Sleep deprivation alone would dysregulate anyone. You add that weight of responsibility, the identity shift, the pressure to do this all right, and it is a miracle that any of us stay calm at all. The goal isn't to never get dysregulated. That's not realistic. The goal is to notice it faster, to recover quicker, and have tools that actually work when you need them. That's what this series is going to teach you. Let me be clear about what regulation is and is not. Regulation is not suppression. It's not just simply pushing the feelings down, muscling through, pretending you're fine when you're not. That's a different thing, and it does not work. Suppressed emotions don't disappear. They leak out sideways in irritability, in numbness, in the explosion that comes later when you can't hold it anymore. Regulation is not numbing out. Some dads cope by checking out entirely, going flat, disconnecting from the situation so it can't touch them. This might look like calm from the outside, but it's not. It is absence. And your baby can feel the difference between a father who is present and calm versus a father who has vacated the premises. Regulation is a physiological state. It means that your nervous system is operating in the zone where you can think clearly. You can feel your feelings without being controlled by them, and you choose how to respond rather than just reacting. Your heart rate is manageable. Your breathing is steady. You have access to your whole brain, not just the survival parts. The word I keep coming back to is responsive. When you're regulated, you can respond. You can perceive what's actually happening. You can consider options and act with intention. When you're dysregulated, you can only react. You're just a pinball bouncing off whatever hits you. The difference between these two states is everything. Here's the good news, and I really, really need you to hear this. Regulation is a skill. It can be learned. It can be practiced. It can be strengthened over time, just like a muscle. You are not stuck with the nervous system that you have right now. Some people grew up in homes where regulation was modeled. They watched their parents handle stress with steadiness, and they absorbed those patterns without trying. If that's you, congratulations, you have a head start. But most of us didn't get that. Most of us grew up in homes where stress meant yelling or silence or chaos, and we learned those patterns instead. Patterns you learned aren't your fault, but they are your responsibility now, because the patterns that you carry are the patterns that you'll pass on. Your baby is watching you, not with judgment, but with her whole nervous system open, learning what it means to be human. She's learning from you how to handle overwhelming feelings. She's learning whether the world is safe when things get hard. You can give her something different than what you got. That's not wishful thinking. That is the whole point of this work. Now, over the next 11 videos, I'm going to teach you how to build a regulation practice. We'll start with learning to recognize your own dysregulation signals, those early warning signs that your nervous system is heading toward that red zone. Then we'll cover the neuroscience of stress so that you understand what's actually happening in your brain and your body when you get flooded. We'll work through specific techniques, breathing, cold exposure, movement, grounding, and figure out which ones work for your particular system. And we'll put it all together into a daily practice that takes less than 10 minutes, but changes how you show up for the hardest moments. This is the foundation. Everything else I'm going to teach you in this series, how to understand your baby's development, how to build connection through daily practice, how to be present even when it's hard. All of it depends on this. You can know all the right things to do and still fail to do them if your nervous system is not on board. Regulation comes first. I want to close with a reframe. When you imagine being a good father, you probably picture patience, steadiness, being the calm in the storm. You picture yourself holding your crying baby with confidence, soothing her with your presence, showing up when it's hard without losing yourself. That's not a personality trait. It's a skill. And like any skill, it starts with practice. The most important thing that you can do for your baby right now is not buying the right gear or reading the right books or mastering the right techniques. It is learning to calm yourself down. That's the skill that changes everything. That's where we start. I'll see you in the next one.